Hello and welcome to Murder Analysed. I'm Christina Moore. Today's case is a domestic abuse case with a bit of a twist. It's about domestic abuse, it's about online stalking, and it's about murder. So there are some disturbing content within this video and that some people may find really upsetting. I do then describe murders. We talk about online stuff, but we talk about really, I think, what makes this case stand out to me is that this woman that I'm going to talk about, I think her murder was so upsetting because she'd finally found happiness. And it wasn't with the man that murdered her. And I think we talk about now with this about stalking itself. We will talk a little bit about that and this online stalking as well. Now, when I trained in law, one of my specialities, because I specialise in cyber law and cyber criminal law, and I've seen many of these cases and many murder cases that are done through people that have met online. So when I read this case, it wasn't I suppose it didn't make me think, oh yeah, that's rare, because they're not rare. But I think it was her story. I think it's her story that affected me. It's, you know, she had a personality which was soft, kind lady. And I think some of these people, these men, go for women that they think they can abuse, because of one of their personality, because of the circumstances that made her more vulnerable to meeting someone like him. So today's case is the case of Lorna Smith. I think she also went by Lorna Harvey. And this is the domestic case. This is the case, the shocking case really, the very sad case. Domestic abuse case of Lorna Smith, and she was murdered by Clifford Mills in 2011 in London, Croydon, London, UK. So this is another UK case. They had been in a relationship for about 4 years, but before that, I think she'd even seen him a couple of years before that. So their relationship was like 2002 to 2006. But she did know him. So the online part is not about meeting someone online. She already knew this man. She was previously married. She'd been in a relationship since she was very young, for a very long time, about 20 years. And the last 2 years of that marriage, or relationship, they got married. And Lauren and Peter married. But about 18 months, 2 years later, the marriage was over. So we have a woman now who is vulnerable. She's been with someone for a very long time. The marriage is ended because I think affairs and stuff. So again, not that you can blame anything on the man. This is not about people cheating or whatever. This case is about what that can do to someone's personality, to their self-esteem, to their life. Now, she had a daughter, Louise, and I think at the time of the divorce she was about 13, 14 age, and that was her only daughter. But Louise had a good relationship with the father, but the mother then, once this affair came out and the marriage was over and the divorce was over, became very down. Her self-esteem had gone. She was already this character which is quite a nice character, a calm character. Didn't like the word no. She couldn't say the word no. She was very placid, and you know, it was difficult for her to say no. But as she then became more and more down and depressed over really losing what she thought was her whole life, this husband that she had been with for years, it really affected her, and it really affected her self-esteem. The woman couldn't even get out of bed. And I remember the daughter saying that she used to be a great mum, Lorna. She was a great person, great mum. But when this was all going on, Lorna became so unwell in herself that she couldn't really get out of bed, and so the daughter Louise then became the mother figure for about a few years. But she didn't mind that. She helped her mother, she didn't mind. Very good daughter to this woman. Now when she was married to her first husband, or her husband, he had a friend, and his friend was called Clifford Mills. Now Clifford Mills had known then Lauren on and off. He was at her wedding and different things like that, so they knew each other in that way. I think before they divorced though, Clifford Mills and Lorna's husband had parted company. They hadn't really seen each other and nothing much was going on. I don't think he actually liked him. So I think as they split up, then I think it was a few years then before she saw a post on Facebook from Clifford Mills and thought, well, I know him, you know, and we always talk about these online crimes, and you know, I always say to my daughters, you know, never see anyone you don't know, do this, that. Now, you know, you're trying to warn people, and in her mind, she thought by seeing someone, or just to make herself happy, just to get back out there, to go out for a drink or, you know, a chat with someone you knew, would have been the better way to do things. And in the first few weeks, it was. So they contacted each other and was talking over Facebook and contacting each other, you know, popping out to the pubs, this, that and the other, having a chat. And she then, Lorna then, her self-esteem was building up. So her daughter Louise thought, this is great. She's now coming back, you know, not thinking that Clifford Mills would be a long-term partner. It wasn't really her sort of person. And within 6 weeks, this man would then come round, leave clothes there, leave stuff there, started to move in. Within 6 weeks, he had moved in. Now 6 weeks, some people say 6 weeks, yes, because he's a manipulator. His character was, you know, when you first meet these people, they turn out this, they come out with this persona that you wouldn't believe what their real character's like. So within 6 weeks, he moved in. The daughter Louise never agreed with it anyway. She's not a weak girl. She's a very strong, actually, personality. So now you've got this Clifford Mills now living with Lorna and her 13, 14-year-old daughter in their home. And for the first few months, everything was great. He was a doorman, used to work. But then he started to be dictative. Then he started to saying to Lorna what she should wear, what she should eat. Not, you know, because he didn't want her to get fat. Now this man was a big fat slob, to tell you the truth. A doorman, so he was a big man, but fat. Not fit, not gone to the gym every day, just fat and a slob. And as Lorna was working full time, paying all the bills, now keeping this man, because now all this man was doing was laying on the sofa, demand, 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 eating everything. But then he started to turn on Louise, the child, because Louise couldn't even go to the fridge and get a bar of chocolate. She wasn't allowed. Louise now was being separated from her mother, Lorna, because he wouldn't allow contact, even in the same house. If he said something to Louise, Lorna backed him up. And I think it was her character. I think he was so overpowering with her, and he was so manipulative. By this stage, only even after a few months, this woman's character changed. She had lost the joy in her life that she had just got back. She had reverted back now to this very sad woman who had to dress how he wanted, She could only spend money how he wanted. She could only go out where he wanted to go and how long she was allowed to go for. And in the end, I think the pressure of living under this sort of torment, I think it was, for the daughter. The daughter ended up leaving and then going to live with her father. So he had whatever he had planned in his mind had worked. Now when he used to start and lose his temper and get angry and scream and shout, he would then apologise and say, "It's not me, it's Stan." He had an infatuation with Laurel Hardy. And so when he lost his temper, whether he was physically, verbally abusive, it wasn't him, it was Stan. Sorry about that. Stan did it. It wasn't me. Because as I've said before with these domestic abusers, the problem is really with them. They don't want to admit it, but it is. So when they lose their temper, it's either your fault, or in this case, it's Stan's fault. Not me, Stan. So I can hit you, I can abuse you, I can get rid of your child, but it's not me, it's Stan. And that's what he used to use all the time. So after a few years of this, and it was a long, long time, this woman took this psychological and physical abuse for a good few years. The relationship she was with him for was about 4 years, living there. She's then now lost her daughter, who has finally, after a good 4 or 5 months, decided that, listen, I need to have some contact with my mother. So started ringing the mum. Not that he liked it, and he would monitor them calls. He would also monitor if they met up, and they was only allowed to meet up for a short time, because this man wanted total control. She could go to work and he would ring her, pick her up, do everything. That's all she could do. So after about 4 years, Lorna finally had had enough and said to him, I don't want to do this relationship anymore. She's finally got, I think, and I think women have got an inner strength, right? We've got an inner strength. You can take so much. In the end, this woman finally started to come back. This character started to come back, probably even before she was married, when she had this character, because I think she's been put down, held down, made to feel like shit by this man, this dictative, horrible man for years. She finally said, it's over. But do you know what he did? He said, I'm going to kill myself. Now her character, as I said, she's this placid, nice woman, said to him, all right, but it's still over, but you can live here. So he lived with her for 2 years after this relationship was over, still dictating, still running her life, until in the end he decided to leave, which I think she couldn't believe it, really, Lorna, and I don't think Louise, her daughter, could believe it either. It was his decision after 2 years of this not being together but still being this dictated man. He decides to leave. So she's free. She thinks, thank God, I'm free. So he moved back to his flat that he already had in Brixton, and he'd had this flat all the time, but he couldn't move out for 2 years, even though the relationship was over, because I'm going to kill myself. And I think if anyone is watching this when you're in a domestic abuse situation, they don't mean it. And to tell the truth, even if they do, that's their life. You have your own life. And I think by this stage, this is what Lorna thought. I have a life. You're entitled to a life. And this is what she done. So finally he's gone. That she didn't care how he went, but he'd gone. She started to see her grandchildren. She had a great relationship with her daughter again. The daughter now was already married, and she had a couple of kids. and I think she was expecting, no, she had about, I think she had 2 children, but Lorna was a great grandmother. She now had this spark back in her life. She looked great, she felt great, and then she still wouldn't date because I think it put her off, but she was going on Facebook and different things, and up pops one day this message. So this message on Facebook was from a man called Charlie Manning, and he was very nice, was chatty, just sent her a message, so she thought, I'll respond. But on the profile of Charlie Manning was just a love heart, no pictures, and he only had 3 people on there, none of them which he knew, and she was one of the 3, so we had 2 other people on there. So she then started, because I think by this time she's thinking it's harmless, I'm going to talk to someone online, they don't know where I live, they don't know who I am, but I'm chatting. And she continued to chat to this man and use this Charlie Manning, I think, as a confidant, really, someone to let out her feelings on past relationships, including Mills. The daughter, I think, did question about this relationship because Lorna did class it as a relationship. She did. She thought she was in a relationship with this man after a few months, and he was a builder and he was going to give her everything she wanted. And he used to say, you know, don't worry about your exes, you should just be friends with your exes and things like that, and including things she was saying about Mills. She was saying things about Mills that were personal things, thinking that she could trust this online friend, Manning. And so she was saying that Mills was impotent, he was a fat slob, he treated her terribly. But this Manning said to her, don't worry, you should always keep friendly with him. Don't discard him, don't get rid of him, be friends, keep contact with him, help him. So then she thought, oh, I better do that then, because he thinks that's the best thing to do, you know, keep the peace. So she starts then to clean once a week for Mills. Now, unbeknownst to Lorna, Mills and Manning were the same person. So this man was still keeping control of Lorna on this internet page. She wasn't then looking for anyone else to date, was she? Because she was having a relationship with Charlie Manning, who was this wonderful man, this builder, this man that promised this woman the world. And we can't meet yet, and there was always reasons why he couldn't meet, but we will. So after about a year this went on for, I think even she started to realise that something was going on. Not anything to do with Mills. I just thought she felt this relationship, this online relationship over Facebook, wasn't going anywhere. And she actually then met someone in real life, in the real world, not the cyber world. And this man she met was a lovely, lovely man. And I think this is what's so sad about this case, is because finally, this woman had a good relationship with her child, a great relationship with her grandchildren. She had met someone now in real life that loved her, that cared for her, wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. They were planning a life together. So what does you think she did? She then thinks, because she's such a nice person and an honest person, she's then emailed Charlie Manning and told him all about her new relationship and how she was sorry, but she could no longer continue with their online relationship. But what she didn't know was where she was spilling all this stuff, and how much in love she was and how happy she was. She was talking to Mills, and he was enraged because now he knew, didn't he? It was over. He didn't really care whether he lived with her or not. He just wanted that control. And he used Facebook to create a profile, a fake profile, to then invade this woman's privacy, then to invade this woman's life, to engage with her, to make her feel like she was in a relationship, only to find out a year later that that relationship was now over and she was in a real relationship with someone she loved. He didn't respond to that email because she was due to go and clean his house in the week. Now, the new boyfriend had asked Lorna, should I go with you, to clean it? Because he didn't trust, I don't think anyone trusted, the daughter certainly didn't trust this man. She said, no, I'll be okay, I'm just going to clean and I'll see you after. So she left, I think on the 3rd of February, to go to his flat in Brixton, where then, as he opened the door, she walked in, he batters her with an axe handle on the head, knocking her out or really injuring her. He then persistently stabbed her, and she was laying there dying and begging him for help. And he leant over to her and he said, die, you fucking bitch, and slit her throat. She never came out of the house. Then he put on music. He put on, which he'd planned it all. He put on music, turned the music up, robbed her, took all her money out of her purse, then went to the pub, got drunk, and at 5 a.m. the next morning walked into a hospital, asked then to see this, the mental health team there, because Stan, not him, Stan has murdered. There's a few things with this case. One, domestic violence is terrible and happens a lot. And as we've gone in now to Tier 4 in London and South East, domestic cases are going to go up again because these people do not care about you. He only cared about himself. He had planned this murder. He planned to kill this woman in the way he did because she moved on. She left him. He lost his control over her, the power over her. She had found love again, moved on with her life. He couldn't stand it. And then he planned it so well, or so he thought, that he would put his Oasis music on, rob her, leave her, walk in then to a psychiatric hospital and try and then go for a defence of diminished responsibility. That didn't work at all. You can see straight through someone that really hasn't got mental health, and you can see through someone is that when they plan a murder, it's different if she had just been murdered, like he'd just done it, spare of the moment, but it was planned. He knew what he was doing. He'd looked up stuff online and stuff, so they knew he had planned it. People with mental health, people that suffer from multiple personalities, very rarely kill anyway, but if they do, it's not usually planned. It's not planned. It's something that happens because they can't control themselves. This man could control himself. This man knew exactly what he was doing and how he was going to do it, when he was going to do it, and how he was going to try and get away with murder. Another one trying to get away with murder. He didn't. So on the 3rd of February 2012, a year to the day actually, at the Old Bailey, he was sentenced to, I think, life imprisonment with a minimum of 21 years. Again, minimum of 21 years. He was 49 years of age at the time of the murder, and Lorna Smith was 45 when she died. So again, another domestic abuse case. Now we bring into the online stalking. Now, you know, and then ending in murder. It's just sad to me, because this man took her life because he couldn't have her. It's as simple as that. So as I always say with domestic abuse cases, I will leave things up throughout this whole video of where you can contact, and this is UK only, where you can contact, but these videos are reaching all over the world. Somewhere, someone can help you if you are in domestic abuse. Now, whether this is physical domestic abuse or whether this is psychological abuse, you need to get help. And if you are someone out there that knows someone who is suffering from domestic abuse, no matter if we're in a lockdown, no matter what, there is still help out there for you and for them. So tell someone, speak to someone. You don't have to live like this. So this has been the domestic abuse case of Lorna Smith. And a sad case. I find it upsetting because not only of the way she was murdered, but of her daughter that she's left behind. Her daughter, who I think was pregnant with her third child when she heard about her mother's murder. It's a tragedy, really, this, for her. It's a shocking case, this, that there were so many signs of this domestic abuse, and it seems that it's gone under the radar again. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this case interesting. I hope you used some of the phone numbers that I put up on here if you need some help, or you need some advice, or you need some advice to help somebody else. Ring them numbers that are up on there for you to use. You know what to do. You can put your thumbs up if you've liked this case, you know, just hitting that button there. You can subscribe with us on you know, using the logo that Lacey puts up there, you know, to subscribe. You can follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. Now, coming up soon, because as I said before, cyber crime is massive. We live in a world now, as I'm doing now, which is online. So all crime has moved to online. And I will be doing lots of cases on murder crimes online. Serial killers, stalkers online. So there will be, and it will be headed, I think, Lacey's going to head it under cyber crimes. And so that's what a lot of them will now be headed under. So thank you for watching. Till the next time. Bye bye.